As Louis B. Smedes once said, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. This profound quote encapsulates the essence and significance of self-forgiveness. It's a powerful tool for personal growth and healing, but it's often overlooked in the hustle and bustle of daily life. Imagine, if you will, a moment from the past. Picture a time when you were weighed down by the heaviness of a mistake, a misstep, a moment of regret. We've all been there, haven't we? Let me share a story from my own life. There was a time when I made a decision that led to a series of consequences I hadn't anticipated. I found myself spiraling into a well of guilt and shame. It was a difficult period, filled with self-doubt and self-criticism. But then, one day, I came across the concept of self-forgiveness. The realization was like a ray of sunshine piercing through dark storm clouds. I understood that I needed to forgive myself to move on from the past and grow. The power of self-forgiveness lies in its ability to liberate us from the chains of regret and resentment. It allows us to accept our past, learn from it, and use it as a stepping stone towards a more fulfilling future. It's a path that leads to self-discovery, resilience, and personal development. While it's easier said than done, the journey to self-forgiveness is worth every step. It involves acknowledging our past mistakes, understanding the emotions associated with them, and learning to let go of guilt and shame. It requires us to cultivate self-compassion, empathy, and a new perspective towards our past actions. And most importantly, it encourages us to grow, to learn, and to set healthy boundaries with ourselves and others. Remember, each journey to self-forgiveness is as unique as the individual embarking on it. It's a personal adventure, filled with challenges, revelations, and moments of profound insight. And it all begins with that first step towards understanding and forgiving ourselves. Recognize that the journey to self-forgiveness is a personal one, unique to each individual. First, let's delve into what forgiveness truly means. Forgiveness is not just a word, it's a process. It's about releasing ourselves from the chains of bitterness and resentment that keep us tethered to the past. It's about freeing ourselves to live in the present and look forward to the future. Now, forgiveness comes in various forms. There's forgiveness from others for when we've wronged someone or caused harm, but one type that's often overlooked is self-forgiveness. This is about acknowledging and releasing the guilt and shame we carry for our own past mistakes and transgressions. Let's underline this. Self-forgiveness is crucial for personal growth. It's the stepping stone to self-improvement and self-love. When we forgive ourselves, we're saying, yes, I made a mistake, but that mistake does not define me. I am more than my past. I am my potential for growth and change. But why should we care about self-forgiveness? Well, the benefits are manifold. For one, self-forgiveness can lead to increased self-esteem and a healthier self-image. It can also reduce feelings of anger, guilt, and shame, and can even alleviate symptoms of depression and anxiety. Moreover, self-forgiveness can improve our relationships with others. When we're kinder to ourselves, we tend to be kinder to those around us. We become more understanding, more empathetic, and better equipped to forgive others when they stumble. Here's a thought to ponder. Forgiveness is an act of courage. It takes bravery to look at our past mistakes, acknowledge them, and then let them go. But this courage can be cultivated. It starts with understanding that we're all human, and humans are fallible. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. What matters is what we do after the mistake. Do we dwell on it, let it consume us, or do we learn from it, forgive ourselves, and use it as a stepping stone towards becoming a better version of ourselves? Remember, forgiveness isn't about forgetting or excusing the harm done to us or by us, but about letting go of our grievances and resentment. Recognizing our past mistakes is the first step towards self-forgiveness. It's easy to gloss over our past errors, to bury them in the sands of time, hoping they'll just disappear. But in truth, they linger, casting long shadows over our present and future. Acknowledging these past mistakes is not about reliving them or punishing ourselves, but about understanding the path that led us there. Imagine you're an archaeologist, and your past is the excavation site. Your mistakes are not blemishes to be ashamed of, but artifacts of your journey, each holding valuable lessons. As we dig deeper, we unearth these relics, dust them off, and examine them with a gentle curiosity. This process might stir up a whirlwind of emotions, regret, embarrassment, even sorrow. But remember, these feelings are not your enemies. They are signposts, directing us towards areas in our lives that need healing. Think about a time when you made a mistake that you're still holding on to. Picture it in your mind, not as a dark stain on your past, but as a stepping stone on your path to growth. How did it make you feel? What consequences did it have? These are not easy questions, and it's okay to feel vulnerable. Acknowledging our past mistakes can be a sobering experience, but it's also a liberating one. It helps us to see that we're not defined by our mistakes, but by how we respond to them. It allows us to take ownership of our actions and decisions without letting them control us. Every mistake we've made is a part of our story, and our story is still being written. Each chapter, each page, each word is an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to become better versions of ourselves. So as we sift through the sands of our past, let's remember, it's not about dwelling on the mistakes, it's about understanding them. It's about learning from them, and using that knowledge to navigate our path forward. Acceptance of our past actions, no matter how painful, is a crucial step in our journey. With acceptance comes responsibility. Acceptance is the first step we take when we decide to face our past actions. It's a quiet nod to the truth, a gentle acknowledgement of what has been done. It's not about justifying our actions or making excuses. It's about saying, yes, I did this happened. This acceptance doesn't come easy. It's a journey that can be filled with discomfort and resistance. Why? Because it's easier to deny, to deflect, to bury our actions deep within us. But when we accept, we bring our past actions into the light. We see them for what they are, not what we wish they were. Once we've accepted our actions, we then have to take responsibility for them. Responsibility in this case is not about self-blame or self-punishment. It's about recognizing that our actions had consequences, that they impacted ourselves and potentially others. It's about understanding that our past actions, however misguided, were our choices. But here's the crucial part. Taking responsibility doesn't mean dwelling in guilt and shame. Guilt and shame are burdens, heavy weights that keep us stuck in the past. They whisper in our ears, telling us that we're bad, that we're unworthy, that we're stuck. But we're not. We're human beings who make mistakes, who stumble, who falter. So when we take responsibility, we're not inviting guilt and shame to stay. We're acknowledging our actions, understanding the impact they had, and then we're choosing to learn from them. We're choosing growth over stagnation, understanding over judgment, compassion over shame. Remember, this journey of acceptance and responsibility isn't a one-time event. It's a process, a series of steps we take again and again. It's about continuously choosing to face our actions, to learn from them, to grow from them. Taking responsibility doesn't mean living with guilt. It means acknowledging our actions and learning from them. Guilt and shame are two emotions that often hold us back from forgiving ourselves. They act as chains, keeping us tethered to the past and preventing us from moving forward. But what exactly are these emotions, and how do they differ? Guilt is a feeling of remorse or regret for a wrong committed, while shame is a painful feeling of humiliation or distress caused by the consciousness of wrong or foolish behavior. In other words, guilt says, I did something bad, while shame says, I am bad. However, it's vital to remember that neither guilt nor shame define who you are. They are simply reactions to actions or circumstances, not reflections of your worth or character. So, how do we break free from these chains? The first step is to acknowledge these feelings. You can't let go of what you don't recognize. Take a moment to reflect on what you're feeling and why. Write it down if it helps. Next, challenge these feelings. Ask yourself, is this guilt or shame warranted? Am I holding myself to an unrealistic standard? Am I punishing myself for something that was beyond my control? Then, practice self-compassion. Treat yourself as you would a good friend who's going through a tough time. Be gentle, be understanding, and remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes. Finally, make amends if possible. If your guilt or shame stems from wronging someone else, reach out to them. Apologize sincerely and make it right. This isn't always possible, but when it is, it can be a powerful step towards releasing guilt and shame. Remember, letting go doesn't mean forgetting or condoning what happened. It means accepting it, learning from it, and choosing not to let it control you any longer. It means freeing yourself from the chains of guilt and shame and stepping into a future where you can grow, learn, and thrive. Letting go of these emotions is a liberating step towards self-forgiveness. Now let's talk about self-compassion and empathy. These two concepts play a pivotal role in our journey towards self-forgiveness. Self-compassion is about being kind to oneself, especially during times of failure or hardship. It's about recognizing that mistakes and imperfections are a part of being human, and offering oneself the same kindness that one would extend to others. On the other hand, empathy, particularly self-empathy, is the capacity to understand and share the feelings one has towards oneself. It's about stepping into your shoes, acknowledging your emotions, and understanding your experiences from your perspective. Both self-compassion and empathy are crucial for self-forgiveness. They allow us to acknowledge our mistakes without harsh judgment and understand our feelings and experiences with kindness and acceptance. They help us to replace self-criticism with self-understanding, making the process of self-forgiveness less daunting and more nurturing. So, how can we cultivate self-compassion and empathy? Here are a few practical exercises. Firstly, practice mindfulness. Be present in the moment and observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. This will help you to better understand your emotions and respond to them with kindness and compassion. Secondly, practice self-kindness. Whenever you make a mistake or face a setback, instead of criticizing yourself, try to be understanding and kind. Remind yourself that everyone makes mistakes and it's okay not to be perfect. Lastly, practice common humanity. Recognize that all humans are imperfect and everyone experiences pain, failure, and hardship. This understanding can help you to be more empathetic towards yourself and realize that you're not alone in your struggles. These exercises can help you to cultivate self-compassion and empathy, making the process of self-forgiveness more approachable and meaningful. Remember, self-compassion and empathy towards oneself are fundamental to self-forgiveness. As you continue your journey towards self-forgiveness, let these practices guide you, helping you to replace self-criticism with self-compassion and to approach your experiences with understanding and empathy. Our perspectives shape our reality. This is a fundamental truth that guides us as we navigate our way through life. When we perceive ourselves negatively, we can become trapped in a cycle of self-doubt and criticism. But what if we could shift this perspective? What if we could reframe these negative thoughts and change the narrative surrounding our past mistakes? Reframing our perspectives is about more than just positive thinking. It's about understanding and accepting our past, acknowledging our mistakes, and then choosing to view them in a new light. It's about recognizing that our past does not define us, but rather, it's how we interpret and learn from our past that shapes our future. So, how can we go about this process of reframing? One effective technique is to challenge our negative self-talk. When we catch ourselves dwelling on past mistakes or criticizing ourselves, we can pause and ask, is this thought accurate? Is it helpful? What's another way to look at this situation? By questioning these thoughts, we can start to dismantle them and replace them with more supportive, compassionate narratives. Another strategy is to practice mindfulness. Being present in the moment helps us to step back from our negative thoughts and see them for what they are: just thoughts. They're not facts, and they don't have to control our emotions or actions. Mindfulness allows us to observe these thoughts without judgment and let them pass without giving them power over us. Visualizing success can also be a powerful way to reframe our perspectives. By imagining ourselves overcoming challenges and achieving our goals, we can create a positive narrative that motivates us to move forward. We can see ourselves not as victims of our past, but as architects of our future. And remember, this is a process. It takes time and practice. But every step we take towards reframing our perspectives is a step towards self-forgiveness and personal growth. Because in the end, it's not about erasing our past, but about understanding it, accepting it, and using it as a springboard for our future. Changing our perspective allows us to see our past mistakes as opportunities for growth. And with this new perspective, we can begin to forgive ourselves and move forward with compassion, understanding, and hope. Every mistake is a learning opportunity. Isn't it remarkable that our most profound growth often springs from our most significant failures? We've all stumbled, fallen, and made choices we're not proud of. But the beauty of these missteps lies not in the fall itself, but in the wisdom we gain when we rise again. Our past mistakes are not detriments but stepping stones to self-improvement and understanding. They are life's most effective teachers, imparting lessons that no textbook or lecture could ever match. When we stumble, we learn not only about our weaknesses and vulnerabilities but also about our strengths, our resilience, and our capacity to adapt and overcome. Think of a seed. It must first bury itself in the darkness, battle the elements, and break open to grow. Similarly, we must endure our own periods of darkness, struggle, and transformation to emerge stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. So how do we transform our mistakes into lessons? First, we must shift our perspective. Instead of seeing errors as evidence of our inadequacy, we can view them as opportunities to learn and evolve. We should strive to understand what led to the mistake, what we could have done differently, and how we can avoid similar missteps in the future. Next, we practice self-compassion. Instead of berating ourselves for our errors, we can treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we'd extend to a friend in a similar situation. We remind ourselves that everyone makes mistakes, that it's a part of the human experience. Finally, we apply our newfound wisdom to future actions. Armed with the lessons learned from our past, we make different choices, better choices. We grow, we evolve, and we become better versions of ourselves. Remember, the path to personal growth is not a straight line. It's a winding road filled with peaks and valleys, but every stumble, every fall is an invitation to rise stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Embrace the lessons learned from past mistakes as steps towards personal growth. After all, we are not defined by our mistakes, but by how we learn from them. Setting boundaries is an essential part of self-care. Just as we set physical boundaries to protect our personal space, we need to establish emotional boundaries to safeguard our mental and emotional well-being. These boundaries are crucial in our journey towards self-forgiveness. They serve as a reminder that we have the right to protect ourselves from harmful behaviors, even if they are our own. Creating healthy boundaries with ourselves means recognizing our limits and respecting them. It's about understanding that it's okay to say no to negative self-talk, to not allow ourselves to dwell excessively on past mistakes, or to indulge in behaviors that harm us. It's about giving ourselves the permission to prioritize our mental health, to step back when things get overwhelming, and to take time for self-care and self-compassion. Setting boundaries with others is equally important. It's about communicating our needs, our values, and our limits clearly. It's about being assertive, not aggressive, in expressing our feelings and standing up for our rights. It's about understanding that we deserve to be treated with respect and kindness. But let's clear up one common misunderstanding about setting boundaries. It doesn't mean cutting people off or isolating ourselves. It's not about building walls, it's about drawing lines that promote mutual respect and understanding. It's about teaching others how to treat us by demonstrating how we treat ourselves. And here's another crucial point to consider. Setting boundaries is not a one-time act. It's an ongoing process. Our boundaries may change over time depending on our experiences, our growth, and our evolving needs. It's essential to review and adjust them as necessary. But remember, setting boundaries is not an excuse to avoid accountability. It's not about evading responsibility for our past actions or mistakes. It's about creating a safe space for ourselves to acknowledge these mistakes, to learn from them, and to move forward. Remember, forgiveness does not mean forgetting or condoning harmful behavior. It's about learning from the past, making amends where possible, and then releasing the burden of guilt and shame. It's about allowing ourselves to heal and grow, because we all deserve that chance. Now let's dive into the practice of self-forgiveness. This journey of self-discovery and healing begins with a simple yet profound step: acknowledging that you need to forgive yourself. This might seem obvious, but it's a hurdle many people stumble upon. Next, identify the specific actions or behaviors you need to forgive. Write them down if it helps. This isn't about rehashing the past or wallowing in regret, but about clarity and understanding. Now remember that you are human. And being human means you're not perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. What matters is what we learn from them. So give yourself permission to be imperfect. This might be a tough pill to swallow, but it's essential for self-forgiveness. Then, try to see your past self with compassion. Imagine a friend made the same mistakes. You would likely be understanding and forgiving, right? So why not extend the same kindness to yourself? Compassion is key in the journey of self-forgiveness. Once you've done this, it's time to take responsibility. This isn't about blame or self-punishment, but acknowledging your actions and their impacts. It's about saying, yes, I made a mistake, I'm sorry, and I'm committed to doing better. Then, make amends if possible. If your actions harmed others, consider apologizing or making it right. If you can't, or if it's not appropriate, then commit to not repeating the same mistakes. Next, let go. Release the guilt, the shame, the regret. They've served their purpose and it's time to move on. This is often easier said than done, but remember, it's a process. Be patient with yourself. Finally, make a commitment to yourself, a commitment to self-forgiveness, to learning, to growth. This might involve setting boundaries, seeking support, or practicing self-care. Find what works for you and stick with it. Remember, self-forgiveness isn't a one-time event, but a journey. It might be challenging and uncomfortable at times, but it's also incredibly liberating. So take it one step at a time and be kind to yourself along the way. Self-forgiveness is a practice, a daily commitment to yourself. And with each day, you'll find yourself moving closer to peace, acceptance, and love for the person you are, were, and will become. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. We all stumble, we all fall, and we all need a hand to help us get back up. That's where the power of support comes in. It's okay to lean on others when the weight of past mistakes feels too heavy to carry on your own. Reach out to friends, family, or mentors. Their perspective can often shed new light on the situation, helping you see the path to forgiveness more clearly. But what if those closest to you aren't able to provide the support you need? That's perfectly okay too. There's no shame in seeking help from professionals trained to guide us through these complex emotions. Therapists and counselors can provide a safe space for you to express your feelings without judgment. They can help you navigate the intricacies of self-forgiveness, providing tools and strategies tailored to your unique situation. Therapy can be instrumental in the forgiveness process. It allows us to confront our past mistakes head-on, but in a controlled and supportive environment. It teaches us to separate our actions from our worth as individuals. It helps us understand that making a mistake does not make us a mistake. This process may seem daunting. It's like standing at the foot of a mountain, staring up at the peak that seems miles away. But every journey begins with a single step, and each step you take towards seeking support is a step towards self-forgiveness. Don't underestimate the power of a supportive community either. There are countless online platforms, support groups, and forums where people share their own experiences with self-forgiveness. Hearing others' stories can be incredibly comforting. It reminds us that we're not alone, that others have walked this path before us and have come out stronger on the other side. In the end, remember that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to need others, and it's more than okay to seek professional guidance. You don't have to navigate the path to self-forgiveness alone. Seeking support can greatly aid your journey towards self-forgiveness. Once we've forgiven ourselves, it's time to move forward. The beauty of self-forgiveness is that it clears the path for us to stride confidently into the future, freed from the shackles of our past mistakes. It's like wiping the slate clean, giving us the opportunity to set fresh goals and intentions for our personal growth. Consider this moment as a rebirth, a chance to redefine who you are and what you want to achieve. Think about the person you aspire to be, the values you want to uphold, the legacy you wish to leave. Use these aspirations to shape your goals and intentions. Remember, these goals don't have to be monumental. Small, achievable objectives can lead to substantial growth over time. It's about progress, not perfection. It's about striving to be better today than you were yesterday. Embrace this journey of self-discovery and transformation with an open heart and mind. Moving forward allows us to turn our past mistakes into stepping stones for personal growth. In conclusion, self-forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. It's a voyage that weaves through the tapestry of understanding forgiveness, recognizing past mistakes, and accepting responsibility for those actions. It's a path that invites us to let go of shame and guilt, to embrace self-compassion and empathy, and to reframe our perspectives. We've explored the multifaceted nature of forgiveness and its significance in personal growth, highlighting self-forgiveness as an essential ingredient to inner peace. We've delved into the importance of introspection in identifying past mistakes and the emotions that come with this recognition. We have emphasized the necessity of accepting past actions, acknowledging that taking responsibility doesn't mean wallowing in guilt and shame. We've discussed the differences between shame and guilt, suggesting strategies to release these burdens, such as practicing self-compassion and journaling. We've introduced the concept of self-compassion and the role of empathy in self-forgiveness. We've offered practical exercises to cultivate a more compassionate relationship with oneself. Moreover, we've explored the power of reframing negative thoughts about past mistakes, providing techniques to help change the narrative surrounding these experiences. We've underscored the wisdom that can be gleaned from past mistakes and how growth often sprouts from the soil of failure. We've also emphasized the importance of setting healthy boundaries with oneself and others. We've addressed the need for forgiveness without necessarily forgetting or condoning harmful behavior. We've guided you through the steps of practicing self-forgiveness, sharing personal practices that aid in this process. Furthermore, we've encouraged seeking support from friends, family, and mental health professionals, discussing the benefits of therapy or counseling in the forgiveness process. We've offered strategies for moving forward after forgiving oneself, including setting goals and intentions for personal growth. Now it's your turn to embark on this journey of self-forgiveness. Remember, it's not about reaching a destination, but about the lessons learned, the growth experienced, and the peace achieved along the way. There are numerous resources available for further support or reading, so feel free to explore them. Remember, the journey to self-forgiveness starts with a single step. Be gentle with yourself and trust the process.